New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert here, pushing all the wrong buttons. And yet we are here on the New Thought Media Network. It is Saturday morning. It's time for our Science of Mind and Spirit Conversation series. Thank you so much for being with us here this morning. Good morning, Fiona. Good afternoon. I always say good morning because it's morning here, and I know it's afternoon there. Good afternoon, dear Fiona. It's good to see you. Glad you are with us. Anyone else that's watching, feel free to chime along, chat along, and share your comments in the comment box. Happy to answer questions or entertain your comments as we go along with us. All right. So it's Saturday morning. First thing I want to do is I want to say thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown for an incredible opportunity last week to explore more of the resources that are available on the Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation website. So for those that may be new to what we're doing here on Saturday mornings, beginning in January, we teach and we share and we make and we learn and we study together, let's say that, from the Science of Mind textbook. And we go by chapter throughout the book. That runs out in late July. And so in August and throughout the remainder of the year, we jump in and start pulling up resources from the archives. The Science of Mind Archives and Library is a great resource for many different writings and now video and audio and all kinds of great resources to help us deepen our study of the science of mind and of Ernest Holmes, and in some cases, other authors and other luminaries from within the science of mind realm or environment as well. So grateful you're with us. Thanks again to Dr. Tracy for a rousing talk last week. Be sure to check that out if you haven't already, and you can find all of our past episodes in the playlist for this program, which is located in the description of the video you're watching right now. So that link should be available in the description you're watching. All right. So today what I found is an article that was unpublished works of Ernest Holmes. That is, they were unpublished until about 2001. When this piece was published in the Science of Mind magazine. But that means that for about 40 years, a little more, 41 years, this article was left unpublished. It was just floating around in the world. And the archives found it, pulled it up, dusted it off, and shared it with us. It's called Change is Necessary. And I think I just was attracted to the title so quickly. Change is necessary. That's what we're going to look at today. If you are a member of the archives, and membership in the archives is really inexpensive, $10 a month, get you 10 downloads a month. And I usually pull a couple a week looking at different things, and it's a great resource. If you're a member of the archives, you can go to you go to shop and search Ernest Holmes documents and Ernest Holmes magazine articles, as well as I have the link going across the bottom of the screen there for you as well. So feel free to go ahead, and if you're a member, download your own copy. If you're not a member, well then, hey, consider being a member of the archives, and as well as a member of New Thought Media Network. It goes a long way towards deepening our education of Ernest Holmes. All right, let's dive right in then. This is what it looks like. Change is necessary. It's PDF version, and we're going to start right at the top. We are living in a world of continual change, a world in which thought, thing, and experience are all in a constant state of flux. It is the very nature of the universe that there should be continual change and variation. It is a living world, the creation of a living, creative intelligence. My camera's in the way. Not a static world created by a living, now dead or departed, who has left it to decay. No, it is vital and alive. The mind that created it is not apart from it, but it is always active in and through it. A world of continual change. I think we all probably know that change is constant. And yet there are times when perhaps we don't really enjoy the change, when we don't want to embrace the change, where we don't necessarily recognize how change is necessary. Change is necessary, for if we did not have the change, we would become static. It is a living world, the creation of a living creative intelligence, not a static world created by a God now dead or departed who has left it to decay. No, it is vital and alive. That means that God is vital and alive. We want to remember that. Now, in this article and throughout Holmes's writing, he often uses some terms that are a little more archaic, let's say. In contemporary New Thought, many people shy away from the word God for various reasons. We're going to use We're going to use the words that Holmes uses to move beyond our ingrained perceptions, if you will, or perspective of God as an old white man with a long beard sitting on a throne on a cloud somewhere. We're going to start to really understand that when we use the word God, and when Holmes used the word God, what he's really talking about is a power, a presence, and an intelligence. All three. Power, presence, and intelligence that is everything. Good morning, Cynthia. Change is constant, but so is spirit. Yes. Yes. And we're going to get to that. You have a very important point, and Holmes gets to that a little bit later in this article, and we're going to get to it as well. Do a couple other quick shout outs I didn't see come in. Linda, good morning. Good to see you, dear one. Shay, good morning. Good to see you, dear one. Glad you're both with us. Okay, so it is vital and alive. The mind that created it is not apart from it, but is always active in and through it. And notice Holmes capitalizes the word mind here. That means he is speaking of the divine mind, the absolute mind, not necessarily a mind, the human mind, but the divine. So behind that which changes, behind that which causes the change, we have found that there is something stable and changeless, something eternal upon which all eternal events depend for their very existence. Behind the endless process of change and the infinite variety of experience and expression, there is that which does not change. That's spirit. Spirit is constant. Thank you, Cynthia. Right? Spirit is constant. It never changes. The divine, whether we call it God or Buddha or Brahma or Yahweh, whatever we want to call it, that which is changed less, I like to call universal principles, actually. Holmes continues, we should never be afraid of change, never fearful of what will come. Instead, we should bring to bear on each new event the influence of the creative nature of our thought. An influence that is founded on an inward calm, a sense of certainty and peace, which will reflect itself in the changing scene of our everyday lives. I'd like to give you an example of that. Hey, Roy Chavez. Good morning, sir. I was just thinking the other day, Roy, that I hadn't seen you on a program, and maybe you've been here and I just missed it. So it's really good to see you back and see you here this morning with us as well from just up the road here in Colorado from where I live. Okay, back to Holmes. We should never be afraid of change, never fearful of what will come. Okay, I can take that. Instead, we should bring to bear on each new event the influence of the creative nature of our thought. So what Holmes is saying is that no matter what happens in your world, no matter what shows up, no matter what somebody else does, whatever it is, it's up to us to bring to that event the influence of our creative nature of our thought. So a baby's crying. We can get upset, get angry, create a vibration of frustration and anger, and that's going to be felt around us. And if the baby's close enough, the baby's going to feel our anger and keep crying. If we bring forth an influence of peace and understanding, an influence of compassion, then we're going to create that vibration in our world and we'll experience more of that. So it is up to us to influence what is happening around us through our creative nature, through our creative thought, and change the scene of our everyday lives. You with me? Drop a thumbs up. Say yes in the chat box. Let me know if this is all following for you as well. Holmes continues, as we look for and discover the nature of the infinite, which does not change, we find that we develop a complete trust in its integrity. So here's the its, notice the capital letter, referring to God. So as we look for the nature of the infinite, which does not change, the nature of spirit, which does not change, always the same, universal principle, the law, we find that we develop a complete trust in its integrity, in the divine integrity. Remember, the divine is not changing how it operates or what it does based on who we are or how powerful or perfect or aligned our prayer is. The law, the creative nature of the infinite, just does. We were reminded of Einstein's remark that God does not play dice with the cosmos. There's no chance. It's not based on luck. I'm not praying for daddy to win a new pair of shoes. We're not praying for some sort of luck to bless us, and in that blessing, look over others. We come to possess a feeling of security, which is enhanced by the knowledge that each of us has a personal and intimate relationship with the infinite. And we talk about this all the time. I do, at least. With 8 billion different people on the planet, that means there's 8 billion different ways to know God. 8 billion or more different experiences of a personal and intimate relationship with the infinite. We each have our own, and we each have to be willing to express that. Now, yes, it needs to be in alignment with the integrity of the universe. So it needs to be in alignment with however, when it's not, when we get into that, oh, poor me, why is this happening to me? Well, that demonstrates that is a creative thought as well. So in this intimate relationship with the infinite, personal and intimate relationship with the infinite, you get to decide how you show up. But you have to remember that how you show up will directly reflect back into your life the experiences, the events, and the opportunities that are going to show up. It continues, it is from this inward basis of certainty, this sense and awareness of our relationship to God, who is changeless, but from whom flow infinite expressions, that all of our thoughts should flow. This is that point of separation. If I boil it all down, no matter what comes into your mind, I believe we have one of two thoughts. We either think, oh, good, or we think, oh, no. I watched a program recently, and one of the characters in this program, the first thing out of this character's mouth every time was no. I've watched people do that in person. No. Everything that comes out, every experience, every opportunity, every question, every concern starts with a no. I'm going to encourage us to start with the good. And this is a I'm going to say this is a challenging spiritual practice. Now, my beautiful beloved wife, Laura, came to me recently, and we were talking about a few things. And in it, she said, I've had this thing, and I forget who she heard it through. But it's a reminder that no matter what's going on in our life, no matter what the conversation might be, what happens if we make our first response good? Now, there are those that are going to argue, but it's not good, Robert. People are dying and people are starving and the police are abusing folks and there's this condition and the condition and that condition. And what I'm saying here is, what if instead of being outraged by the experiences we see, we say, good. Now I know where my work is. Good. Now I know where I can make a contribution. Good. Now that person knows where their healing is. Good. Now that person knows what's necessary. So here's another example of this. We have a vehicle. Some of you may know some of this story. We own a vehicle that has been having some serious engine problems for quite a long time now. I think we're on our fourth engine in this vehicle or something. And the manufacturer, we work with the manufacturer, and we've got a great relationship with our local dealer because all the work happens at the dealer level because we're working with the manufacturer as well. So rather than going to an independent mechanic, we always go to the dealer with this vehicle. And Laura came in the other day and she says, hey, guess what? I said, what? She said, the check engine light came on in that car again. Now, after numerous breakdowns, after being stranded on the side of the highway with this vehicle now a few times, you can imagine my first response was not good. However, just as quickly as I went to my frustration, I went to good. We take it back to the dealer. We give it back to the dealer. We have another experience documented about this vehicle. Good. Let's get this fixed. So, real quick to Cynthia. Yes, Cynthia, I have read up on the lemon law, and in the state of Colorado, it does not. It doesn't cover this experience. Linda Plasters, there is good in the world, and I choose to focus on it. Yes, exactly. That is the point, and this is where it gets muddy because people get lost in that "it's all good" phrase. And people throw around, it's all good, which causes other people to think, but wait a minute, it's not all good, and it creates the argument. So we have to be exactly good, exactly, Cynthia. Good. Our lemon law doesn't cover this. Good. There is good in the world, and I ought to have it. The only thing that's stopping me from having the good I desire is my willingness or my laziness by dropping into the no part of the experience. So I don't walk around saying it's all good, only because other people won't understand that. I do, in my own way, say, if somebody comes to me and says, my cat died, I don't look at them and say, good, you get to get a new cat. Or, good, they're in a better place. I say that internally. And I still, with compassion, hold the person for the experiences they're doing. With me? So that's not a spiritual bypass. And it's not an arrogance in the face of someone that approaches us or shares with us. It's a deep understanding within myself that no matter what it is, there is good in here somewhere. There is good in here somewhere. Let's go back to homes for a moment. In our daily living, we encourage infinite variety in all things. But behind the expression, there is a pattern or form, which is the foundation. There is a unity, but not a uniformity. And I love talking about that one. There is a unity. We are all part of the one, but we are not all the same. If every cell in your body was a muscle cell, we'd have a hard time. If every cell in your body was a liver cell, we'd have a hard time. We have to have the uniqueness, and each unique part is absolutely vital to the operation of the whole. So there is a unity, but not a uniformity that exists between all similar expressions, a unity that resides in the ultimate creative nature of the universe, a unity that allows freedom of individual expression. An obvious lesson can be learned if we look at ourselves, our families, our friends. We discover that we are all human beings, all pretty much the same. A head, 2 eyes, 2 ears, a nose, a mouth, a body, arms, and legs. And as we look further afield at the entire human race, we find some races are tall, some short, some white, others black, yellow, or red. But behind every person, every race, there is a basic pattern, a pattern that is individually expressed. If there were not the possibility of variation of expression, life would never have developed its infinite variety. Now remember, Holmes often uses some older language. Behind every person, every expression of humanity, of being human, there is a basic pattern. Deeply, we are one. So there is no difference truly between myself and my friends of color. I often joke that I'm melanin challenged. If you get that, good. Holmes continues, and there could never have developed its infinite variety. And if there had not been a basic pattern behind the development of humankind, there would never have been any way for it to develop. So what he's saying is he's reminding us that there has to be this pattern of oneness, this foundation of oneness, and that from that, all sorts of variations happen. All sorts of unique experiences happen. Behind me in the background there, you'll see a couple of paintings hanging on the wall. And a number of years ago, let's say, I think it was back in 2017 or 2018, I got this wonderful idea that I wanted to start painting. It was just an amazing experience. And rather than trying to create something, I embraced a more undefined experience, let's say, and got on the internet, did some research, and learned how to create what's known as flow paintings. So the paintings you see behind you are from various different series with different mixtures of color to create an abstract piece of art. And I have them all over the place. They're everywhere in my home. And some of you have purchased some along the way and have them hanging in your homes. What I learned in that experience is it all starts the same. I have series of paintings that they all start with the same colors. They all start with the same medium. They all start with a blank canvas. They all have exactly the same infinite potential. And then something unique happens when you start to pour the paint, when you start to move the paint on the canvas, when you start to realize that, oh, that corner doesn't have enough color, and you tip your canvas and let the paint run down into that corner or this side. In all of that, we come to that place where the basic pattern, paint on a canvas, becomes something completely unique. And if you look deeply at these paintings, you also begin to see the reflection of the belief or the reflection of different experiences within the way the paint moves together, within the way it flows, within the way it reveals itself. So there's a hidden meaning behind every painting. And it's the beauty also is that I can interpret it my way, but you may look at it and interpret it a completely different way. No matter what's happening, we have the power to interpret what's going on, and therefore we have the ability to influence our experience, and therefore influence others' experience as well. Imagine if you were standing in front of one of those paintings, some abstract piece of art, and someone walks up next to you and looks at it and goes, "Oh my God, this is terrible." There's that no. Well, that's going to influence your experience of it, because now you're going to start wondering, well, what do they see that's so terrible here? What I like this one. What did they see that I didn't see? And the reverse would hold true, that if that same person walked up and said, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is a miracle," you would immediately be influenced and start looking for the miracle. You'd be looking for something that maybe you feel you haven't seen. So let's continue before I pontificate all afternoon or all morning. One of the most amazing events in the development of humankind into its present physical form occurred in the early stages of its existence. According to anthropologist Lauren Isley, humans at the time in physical structure and general appearance gave evidence of the people to come. The pattern existed, but through infinite changes and variations, a fuller and more expression occurred. Then an amazing thing happened. For no reason that scientists have been able to determine, humans developed an enlarged brain, a brain far beyond the capacity needed for the containment of cells necessary for the operation of the senses, for survival and the automatic function of the physical body. Talking about evolution here, right, folks? Without any previous indication, without any comparable thing occurring elsewhere in any living thing, humans suddenly possessed a brain that was capable of functioning far beyond any demands that could ever be made of it by the physical body. It was an elaborate instrument that was capable of being a channel for thought, creative thought. Why did it appear? What caused it to appear? What was its purpose? There is no academic answer forthcoming through the strict limitations science places upon itself. But those who have devoted their lives to science sometimes step outside their laboratories for a moment, turn aside from their microscopes, and say what they think. When we look at the record of human existence, to me, there is no question that we have evolved. Now, the bone structure of humanoids proves that easily. And we have all kinds of names and Neanderthals and all kinds of names for the various stages of human development. And yet I'm here to say that it's all part of the development of humanity. It's all part of that evolutionary process that humanity is going through. And yes, and now we are pretty much at the level where most people consider we're Homo sapiens. Barbara Marx Hubbard had, before her transition to another plane of existence, has work that suggests we're more than that now. Michael Beckwith has used the term Homo spiritualist. Barbara Marx Hubbard used Homo universalist. We are an ever-changing and evolving expression of the divine in both thought and form. Just think of our human hair. It grows, it changes. Just think of our human appearance. It grows, it changes. And we have the ability to direct that change. I can let my hair grow out. I can go get a haircut. I can do the work to keep the physical body toned and fit, and therefore not gain weight and lose weight. Or we can go through and just let the weight keep gaining. Just let ourselves keep gaining weight. Yes, Cynthia, we evolve physically and spiritually. And that's, I believe, what Holmes is hoping that we will see and recognize in this article, in this writing. That it is our spiritual life that we are being called to change. Yes, the physical is good. Yes, we have to pay attention, and truthfully, we have to pay attention to all of the aspects of our life: mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And here in this organization, in this ministry, in this conversation each week, we focus in on the spiritual. How are we evolving spiritually? So when someone approaches me and say, well, that's the way it's always been done, I say, good, time to do it differently. Because we can't hold on to what has always been if we want to move into what we desire for our future. We have to be willing to let go of our past to embrace the potentiality of our future. Let's get back into it. Some scientists say that with the advent of this unpredictable development in humankind, that was our ability to think, Something different had been brought into creation by the mind, capital M mind, that's divine mind, behind all creation. Something different had been brought into creation by the mind behind all creation, a unique expression of itself. Thus, we're freed from many of the indistinct limitations of our physical body. We are now aware of ourselves. We could think. This is where it gets good. Infinite mind, not that it hasn't been, this just gets really good. Infinite mind is the only thing that can be ascertained to have thought, consciousness, and intelligence. And now it established for itself, again, capital letters, so we're referring to God here. And now God establishes it for itself in and through humankind, a means of awareness, creativeness, and consciousness of what it had created. We come to a realization that we are all God blobs. We are all blobs of God. We are all unique experiences and expressions. With the development of the larger brain in humans, mind came forth anew into its creation, ushering in a whole new era, the future of which we but little realize. We now need to learn to free ourselves from the complete domination of the instinctive functioning of the nervous system, although it serves our physical body well and has brought it to a high degree of perfection, which it now exhibits. We need to learn to free ourselves from the complete domination of the instinctive functioning of the nervous system. If your mind just went to fight or flight, you're right. We must be willing, and we're going to talk about that in the next paragraph, actually. We need to learn to free ourselves from the complete domination of the instinctive functioning of the nervous system. So what do we turn to? We turn to our divine self. The physical body is always to face a threat in one of two ways, either by fight or by escape through flight. The same instinctive reaction is of value to us today, but we need to place a limitation on its action. So he's saying that it's not wrong to experience the fight or flight instinct, but we need to place a limitation on the action that we take because of that. We deal largely with ideas in our daily lives, and when we encourage one we do not like, our bodies are whipped up to engage in combat or prepared for flight, even though the body is never able to actually do anything about either fighting or fleeing from an idea. The resulting wear and tear are most disastrous. We now need to discover that new thing which resides within us and is ever seeking fuller expression through us, and we shall find that it is the individualization in us of the infinite conscious creative intelligence. He's telling us we have within us everything that is necessary to avoid the instinctive human expression when faced with change, when faced with something new. We have within us the ability to look at it from an intelligent point of view, from an intelligence. We have the ability to discern between what we feel works and what we feel doesn't, or what we know is the truth of the divine. So here we get into the non-resistance. Whoops, wrong button again. Here we go. We generally seem to resist change, even that which is better for us. We also appear to resist being what we really are. We need to learn carefully and surely to permit ourselves to accept the fuller expression of the mind that is within us. Against this, there must be no resistance. That's the no. If our first thought is, oh no, that's resistance. There must be no resistance, for in its creative flow through us rests our entire future, the greater person we may be and the richer life we desire to enjoy. I love this part. It is for its creative flow through us that rests our entire future. Now, we want to remember that in the science of mind, we do teach that there is no time or space in the mind of the divine. What is known by the divine is not necessarily known in the human mind. I don't know the future. I don't know where it's all going. I don't know what's going to happen. But here's the thing, that which is the all of all already does know. So when faced with the question of what do I do now? I don't know what to do. We are reminded, and hopefully by ourselves or someone close, that there is a mind that does know. That within the divine, there is that which does know exactly what's next. When we establish within our thought a non-resistance to that power which is greater than we are, God, we're at the same time accepting within ourselves a stability that is the stability of the universe. We find ourselves secure, for we know that we are part of that which causes change, but is never affected by any of the changes. Remember, the divine God, this universal power, presence, and intelligence is always itself. It never changes. What changes is our approach to that. What changes is our understanding of that. What changes is our perception and therefore our expression of that unchanging power, presence, and intelligence. As we gradually attain this sense of security, we will find that we view the changes occurring about us in a proper perspective. We will have stopped letting ourselves be blown about like straws in the wind or tossed helplessly about in a turbulent sea whose waves are doubt and fear and anxiety. So let's stop here, because Linda shares that timelessness is a concept that is still a challenge for her. Thank you, Linda, for your honesty. The way I like to share this and what we know is that time, well, we change time. Humanity determines what time is. If we had no clocks, life would continue. And it would continue through a cycle, and our bodies would find a natural rhythm. And many do this. We find a natural rhythm. Many of us know, I don't do well in the morning. I'm slow to wake up. Oh, there's such an early bird. Others that sleep in late. And what we know also is that changes as we grow through our lives. Teenagers need more sleep later in the day, stay up later at night. Eventually that moves and that changes. So all that time really is a way of measuring our experience. And that is a complete human construct, because it is only humans that say an hour is an hour and a day is a day. If we were on a completely different planet, all of that would be thrown out the window, and we would have a totally different experience of this human concept called time. But at the level of the divine, at the level of the absolute, in that place where there is no harm, in that place where there is no doubt or fear, there also can be no human construct. And so we move beyond time and experience the divine as it happens. I also like to think of this as going with the flow. Fiona shares, love that humanity flows within universal currents of life. That is a great expression of it from my perspective, that we are flowing with the universal currents. And we have the opportunity to get out of that current, to influence that current, just as much as we do stay with it and let it carry us. I hope that helps a little bit, Linda. It's not, it takes time. It takes it. I almost said it takes time. It takes experience to be able to look beyond, oh, this has to happen right now, or oh, this has to happen before Thursday. When we establish within our thought a non-resistance to that power which is greater than we are at the same time accepting within ourselves a stability that is the stability of the universe. We find ourselves secure, for we know that we are part of that which causes change but is never affected by any of the changes. As we gradually attain this sense of security, we will find that we view the changes occurring about us in a proper perspective. Oh, good. We will have stopped letting ourselves be blown about like straws in the wind or tossed helplessly about in a turbulent sea whose waves are doubt and fear and anxiety. As we more embody, as we more accept this truth, we have less doubt and less fear and less anxiety. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen, because those things can also be valuable in pointing us towards a greater expression and an experience of ourselves, but we're not bound by them. We may liken ourselves to the atom, whose center or nucleus is relatively stable. Around it revolves the electrons in orderly, harmonious orbits. In much the same way, once we discover the stable center that resides within us, all our experiences will revolve around us in an orderly way. Get that? In much the same, once we discover the stable center that resides within us, once we understand and discover the universal power, principle, presence, power, presence, and intelligence, once we discover our intimate and personal relationship with God, all our experiences will revolve around us in an orderly way. Once our consciousness becomes stabilized through security found on a conviction of the nature of God, and we come to have an inner awareness that the creative intelligence of the universe resides at the center of us, then will our experience take on a pattern of harmony, a natural outflowing of our inner security. Oh, good. Once we understand that we are gods, I know some will call that blasphemy. Some will say that's a misinterpretation. We are small g gods. We are the human expression of that. We are the microcosmic expression of a macrocosmic God. And what I believe is fully that we are on this planet. Yeah, exactly, Cynthia. At the center of our being is the changeless, constant truth of God. It's a great way to say it. Thank you. Who we are is that changeless constant. That is our foundation. We are the power and the presence and the intelligence made manifest in this human body. People ask, are we the line about we're spiritual beings having a human experience? I think we're spiritual beings having a spiritual experience through a human body. And when we're done with this human body, when this human body no longer serves its purpose, when it is no longer necessary, the spiritual being that you call Robert, that I call Robert, the spiritual being that is my very nature, is my very core, will continue to have spiritual experiences, just in a different form, or maybe beyond form and in the formless. What do you think? Are you a human being having a spiritual experience? A spiritual being having a human experience? Or are you a spiritual being having a spiritual experience? I believe the latter. Now, the beauty for me is that, yes, we have to have the human experience. We have to have the human body to experience all this in this way. Doesn't mean we need a human body to experience spirituality in the next realms, in the next dimensions. But in this dimension, we have to have a human body. And it will change. It will change. But that change is necessary to point us towards this greatness. See, when we're young and we're children, I believe children have a very inherent understanding of all this, but have no real experience by which to express or explain it. And so they express according to the impulse. They express when people say, kids say the darndest things, and we express according to the impulse. And it is only through conditioning and training that we learn things like time, that we learn that this is unsafe, or these people aren't trustworthy, or all the limitations and all the doubts and all the fears are all taught. Our very nature is not to be fearful. Our very nature is not to be limited. Our very nature is to be absolutely free. And the human experience is that opportunity to learn how to really embrace that. So to really embrace that freedom, we have to know oppression. Well, I don't think we have to, but that is what the earthly experience is. Because there are those that will misuse the law. There are those that malpractice. And there's plenty of metaphysical malpractice going on out there. But what I want to invite you to here as a part of New Thought Media Network is not the malpractice, but the how practice. How do I practice? How do I make it real in my life? How do I embrace the change so that I can come to a better realization, a better understanding, a better experience, and therefore a better demonstration of the universal law, of the principles of creative living, of creative thought? Again, folks, I could go on and pontificate for days on these types of topics. However, we are just running out of time here today. So I want to thank you for being with us. If there's final questions or thoughts that we want to that you'd like to add, now is that time. Before we do go, however, I want to invite you into a really powerful practice of gratitude, and that is an opportunity to say thank you to the various organizations and the various individuals that keep this network on the air, that provide me the opportunity to do this and provide so many others the opportunity to share their wisdom, their joy, their truth out into the world as well. So before we wrap up, we're going to say thank you real quick to our organizational sponsors and individual donors. Please help me do that. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Spiritual Center, Kitchener, Om Home Center for Spiritual Living, La Mesa. Satya Center. Center for Spiritual Living, North Jersey. Unity of Savannah. And Center for Spiritual Living, Seattle. As well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for making New Thought Media Network a place to be. Please come be you. And remember, like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. All right. Thank you again for being with us today, folks. Before we go, a couple of things. Our dear friend Cynthia added in that love the takeaway of responding with good. Yes, thank you for that. And we've got more good to come, not only on the network, but next week, Reverend Mark Gilbert is going to be with us. Now, some of you may know that Reverend Mark recently is part of a project called Ernest Holmes at Asilomar, Lectures and Classes from the 1950s. He compiled the transcripts, and I have a sense we're going to hear a little bit about this next week. We've others on this network have been talking about that. Reverend Victoria did a great presentation a couple weeks back on one of the lectures that's transcribed in that book. So I encourage you to stay tuned, keep following what we're doing here on New Thought Media Network, and share what we're doing. Let people know the good that's happening here. And that's your challenge for the week, folks. That's your opportunity. Let's call it an opportunity, not a challenge. Your opportunity for the week is to respond to everything that comes your way with good. You don't have to say it out loud, but you got to think it inside. Good. And off we go. I'm Dr. Robert. I'm going to get out of here for now. Thank you so much for being with us. Wayne, Shay, Cynthia, who else has been here today? Fiona's been here today, and Linda's been with us as well. Roy Chavez from Fort Morgan. Thank you all for being with us. If you're watching at another time or on another dimension even, feel free to still drop your comment and let us know. I will get a chance to see those at some time. So we're out of here for now. Until next time, I want to wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.